Hey guys, welcome back to another NAT update video and oil tanker market update video. But first, I just want to say if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do. And I know that most people on here are on for my content on NAT, but I do talk about other stocks. So just recently, I sold the Very Good Food Company after making a profit of over 90%. And I just put 200 shares on. But anyways, on my channel, I talk about stocks like the Very Good Food Company, and I did a video on the day that I bought shares of this company. My cost basis was $2.60. So I just want to say you can also follow me on Instagram. I'll link down below. But yeah, if you do want to follow my stock moves, please be sure to subscribe and like for all content. And check out my IG as well, where I do post when I'm selling stocks. So yeah, that's a little message beforehand, but let's get right into the main part. So first, of course, when we're looking at the tanker industry, there's both a bullish piece and a bearish piece, pretty much like with any stock. But we'll just go over this quickly. So for the bull piece, demand is set to recover, and I'm talking about oil demand. And as oil demand recovers, oil spot rates are also set to recover. And this is projected to be by like Q2 of 2021. There are also less new building orders for tankers, and so many tankers are also close to scrapping age. They're over 20 years old. This will also raise spot rates. And finally, it's going to take a long time to implement any environmental policies with a Biden win and generally just the green movement. Okay. Bearish piece here is mainly that rates will be depressed for a long enough time for companies, including NAT, to go bankrupt. It's an older fleet, so they'll have to scrap many of their ships soon. However, they do have two new buildings in place. And finally, there's of course environmental concerns and a Biden presidency. And I mean, if we're looking at the spot rate, I'm not very surprised that it's a red day in the market today. And if we're looking at over the past week, so from last Thursday to today, we're looking at pretty much break even. It's sitting at just under $2.90. Okay. So of course, right now, NAT has a P ratio, trailing 12-month P ratio of 4.79. Again, that's incredibly low. It has a one-year target estimate of $6.09. Again, I don't know if they'll be able to reach that, but I do believe that they will be trading higher in the next 6 months as compared to, of course, where they are now, right? And if we're looking at some stats, we can actually see that the amount of shares shorted decreased. So shares shorted prior to the month of September 14 was 15.6 million shares outstanding, where shares short as of October 14th were close to 12 million shares, right? So not many shares are being shorted as much, probably because the stock price keeps going down and down, so shorts maybe are taking their profits. Okay, and we can see around 8% of shares are shorted of the float. Okay, and if we're looking at analyst projections of how much the company is going to grow revenue by, we can see that for the current year, they expect revenue to grow 51%. Of course, that's due to the whole contango and floating storage situation as spot rates were hiked. And as we can see, next year, revenue is projected to decrease by 12%. But again, that's to be expected as spot rates are low, okay? And it doesn't help that the world is going to lock down again, given the second wave of the pandemic, okay? And I just sometimes like to go on the Yahoo chart and look at the conversations. And so this person, Angela, just bought 10K of this like 6 hours ago. And I found this one interesting. So good luck to you, Angela, for buying 10K of shares. I wish you all the best. Hopefully you bought it at a low. Can it possibly go down further? Yeah, it can go down below $2, but of course, I'm going to be holding it. I do believe that the bottom is close. And so Mark said NAT filed an SEC prospectus dated October 16th for an equity offering in the amount of 60 million shares at $3.56. And so again, this is just showing that NAT has been trying to gain money through offering shares in the market. This will, of course, dilute shareholder value, because now instead of having 200 whatever million shares out there, they're going to have over 300 million shares. Or they're going to have a lot more shares, which pretty much means that each of your shares are worth less because it'll take more buying pressure to increase the stock price, okay? And so this would not be good. So again, it doesn't seem like NAT is in the best financial position. And of course, this is why the stock price is depressed, right? And part of the reason now is like they're not even commenting on the tanker market. They used to do weekly updates on where they say exactly where the tanker market is at, exactly what the spot rates are, and now they're not doing that. Instead, they're saying that we now wish to comment periodically on the tanker market on our website. Right, our first comment will be in early November 2020. Okay, but of course, I subscribe to Potent Partners Daily Briefing, and so this tells you exactly what the Suezmax rates are. And as we can see, the Suezmax rates on Tuesday was 2,300, which is which is incredibly low, right? And then as of today, Wednesday, the spot rates were 1,600. So again, pretty damn low, and this is the 10-day trend for Suezmax rates. One thing I do want to draw your attention to is actually that Suezmax new building price right now is 55 million, and this is a yearly trend, right? Which is like very low. So they're actually going to get a pretty good deal because NAT is planning on buying 2 Suezmax ships, right, to be delivered in 2021. Okay, so as you can see here, the price that they're going to be paying is quite depressed, right? Just because no one's really ordering ships, right? And if no one's ordering ships, the prices of a new building tends to go down, right? So this is good for NAT because they actually may get a discount on those ships. And of course, if they're banking on return of the tanker market for the tanker market to stop tanking, then this is good news for NAT. Okay, and I kind of want to go over what the future is for the oil tanker market is, at least in the medium term. Of course, in the longer term, I'm more bullish because I do believe that demand will come back once, of course, the whole pandemic thing is over, because this can't keep going forever. And of course, environmental regulations will take years to implement. Okay, so the tanker market is looking at more months of losses and negative pressure on freight rates as a result of worsening fundamentals. So shipbroker said has been a catastrophic third quarter for the crude oil tanker market, with freight rates plunging to new lows, mounting the pressure on owners, many of which had been anticipating the market to rebound to much better levels. Okay, of course, this has been this low spot rates have been affected by the pandemic second wave, etc., etc. And if you watch any of my previous videos, you'll see exactly what I mean. We can see that the spot rates were like over like 50K at one point, and then they just kept going lower and lower and lower, and now we can see, of course, that the spot rates are like dismal, like 1,600. Okay. And so starting off on the demand side of things, it is now widely recognized that the global economy has been severely hit by the pandemic, with disruptions on the transportation industry being the biggest concern. As part of the globally imposed lockdown measures, we are looking at a reduction of approximately 8.4 million barrels per day in crude oil demand for 2020. Okay, so that's ridiculous. It's such a huge drop um, in oil demand, which of course will cause a decrease in the amount of in the demand for the tanker industry. Okay. However, on the positive side, China seems to have started to recover from its initial number, with the latest data showing an increase in crude oil imports during Q3, a pattern that is expected to continue in October. Okay, so again, good news for us. And again, it's going to take some time, right? Especially with the second wave going on and stuff like that. OPEC cutting production, and it's just the demand and supply gap is just going to continue to widen further and further. And of course, at least we have going that potentially there may be a contango situation where there's going to be an oversupply of oil again, and that will increase floating storage, which will push spot rates up, at least for the short term. But again, I wouldn't buy based on that wager, right? That's a pretty risky wager. I'm already invested in NAT, and I'm going to be holding my shares. But if I were right now with money on the side, I wouldn't put my money in NAT or any other oil tanker just based off of hoping that the freight rates are going to go up because of a similar situation to what we had in like March and April. Okay. However, if we're looking at a more positive outlook, we see that the current roller coaster situation in oil, gas, and commodities in general is putting pressure on the maritime sectors overall, right? So energy is down overall, except for green energy. And so last week, based on the International Energy Agency's long-term outlook and OPEC's oil market reports, the analysis shows that in absence of large changes in current policies, it is still too early to expect a rapid decline in oil demand. Okay, so a lot of people are talking about, like net zero emissions, et cetera, but it's going to take a long, long time to actually um, make that into a reality. You know what I mean? So, the International Energy Agency STEP scenario, global oil demand grows by around 5 million barrels per day in 2021, reaching pre-pandemic levels by 2023. Consumption is also expected to increase steadily, even at a more subdued rate, 0.7 million barrels per day per year until 2030. Of course, a lot of people are saying that we have already reached peak oil, right? But I don't necessarily know that is the case. Of course, it's going to take some time. Like I said, the projection is to be like 2023 or mid 2022. We're going to reach pre-pandemic oil consumption. However, I do think um, that oil demand will return, and even if it's not, we will never see the rates achieved in 2019. We will still see a largely recovered oil sector. Okay, and again, that's just my bullish proposal. I do not think that even if we do, let's say, see a Biden presidency, that we will phase out fossil fuels entirely in even the next 10 years, right? So the only question is, can NAT, can other oil tankers, can Fro weather the storm in order to not go bankrupt within that time, right? And I do think that the answer is yes. I think that, the past year has been really, really good to them, okay? And because it was good to them, they have enough money on their balance sheet to raise more debt if they need be to get them through this bad time and to see the other side of it, okay? And again, once you break even, then sell some shares or even make a little profit, sell your shares and get out of the oil tanker industry for good, okay? Again, that's my plan. And you have to understand that it's a very cyclical market. You need an iron gut to actually weather these huge shifts in the stock price, right? If we're looking at the 6-month trend, we can see that it's been like $5.28, and then since then it's just been steadily, steadily decreasing since then. Okay, but yeah, that's all I have in terms of the update for NAT. Again, remember, if you want to watch any of my other videos where I talk about companies like Planet 13, Tesla, and the Very Good Food Company, and all of the current plays that I have right now, be sure to check out my other videos. Follow me on Insta. And yeah, have a fantastic day, guys.